Oh, hey y'all. Didn't see you there. Well, welcome to another episode of NOI Beliefs 101. Today we're going to talk about Yakub and the making of the white race.
Sometimes you just gotta vent.
I'm first going to prep this explanation with the fact that we in the Nation of Islam believe that Allah appeared in the person of Master Fard Muhammad July 1930, the long-awaited Messiah of the Christians and Mahdi of the Muslims. Allah God, in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, taught the most honorable Elijah Muhammad for 3 years and 4 months. Before Elijah met Master Fard Muhammad, he only had a 3rd grade education and he was in a very poor condition in life. After he met with God in person, he was resurrected mentally, spiritually, and morally. And he went on to build an empire and change the trajectory of Black people in America to no longer depend on their former slave master, but to do for self, love self, and have a knowledge of self. He went on to lead and teach many people who you might know. So all of these teachings that I'm sharing with you is a product of what Allah revealed to Elijah. I never met Master Fard Muhammad. I never met the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, but I have had the privilege to meet Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is the embodiment of these teachings and proof that when you stick with these teachings and apply it, you literally are taken to the top of civilization. You become force and power, and no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Let's go. The Messenger of Allah teaches us that since the beginning of time, the Black man and Black woman inhabited the earth. There was no such thing as different races. There were only original Black people with shades ranging from a black hue to a brown hue. It wasn't until 6,600 years ago that a scientist born in Arabia by the name of Yakub had a determined idea to make a people who were completely unlike the original people. He planned to achieve this through a form of eugenics and selective mating called grafting. Yakub learned through his studies that there were 2 germs in the Black man. A germ is a portion of an organism capable of developing into a new one or part of one. He found a black germ and a brown germ. He concluded that if he were to isolate the brown germ and graft it all the way down to its most recessive traits, he could produce opposite of black, white. Once he finalized his hypothesis, he had to go to work on finding the necessary converts to begin grafting his new race of people. He began teaching to crowds all over Mecca, Arabia, promising people luxury and telling people that he would make others work for them. Yakub managed to get 59,999 converts to his mission, and he was the 60,000th person. He wasn't allowed to do his grafting in Arabia, so their ship sailed out to an island in the Aegean Sea called Pilan. In the Bible, it's called Patmos. He established a system of policies, procedures, and laborers. His laborers consisted of doctors, ministers, nurses, and cremators. Yakub passed away at the age of 150 years old. However, this genetic engineering continued long after he passed by his leaving literature for the future laborers. For the grafting process, they used positive assortative mating and negative assortative mating. Positive assortative mating is when you mate phenotypically similar people together. So they were allowed to mate brown with brown skin tones. Now, negative assortative mating is when you mate phenotypically different people together. So they were allowed to mate black with brown skin tones. However, they were not allowed to mate black with black skin tones. It took a total of 600 years to produce his final man. The first 200 years, the people as a collective produced the brown man, which the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches were the people who migrated to what we now call Japan, or the Japanese. The next 200 years, they produced the yellow man, or those who migrated and settled in China, the Chinese. And after the final 200 years, making a total of 600 years, the people on Pilan achieved a completely recessive, pale-skinned, blonde-haired, blue-eyed kind of a man. Thus, the white man was made. You can actually find several articles about how the Caucasian is only 6,000 years old. The black man's bones, on the other hand, keep being discovered with earlier and earlier dates. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the black man has no birth record. We were here since the beginning of time. But that's another video for another time. You say, no, they taught us in school that black people migrated to the north, and because of the lack of vitamin D and the environment, they just turned white over time. That's utterly ridiculous. And that theory was actually debunked by Dr. Ashley Robbins, who published an article in the American Journal of Physical Anthropology in 2009. Go check that out. Now, why did Yakub want to make a completely different type of human being, you might ask? Well, the root of this answer is actually spiritual. Allah, the supreme being, his desire and will is for us to be perfected so that the kingdom of heaven can become manifest on earth with no sorrow, no murders, no lies, no mischief. Only good, only truth, only happiness, and only peace. So it was God who inspired Yakub to create a people who, through grafting to the most recessive part of man, would in turn make him weaker physically, but also weaker spiritually by having an inclination to murder, destruction, mischief, and lies by nature. And he would grant them, that people, dominion over the original people of the earth for a certain amount of time. The Holy Quran, Surah 2, verse 30, puts it like this: "And when thy Lord said to the angels, I am going to place a ruler in the earth, they said, Wilt thou place in it such as make mischief in it and shed blood? And we celebrate thy praise and extol thy holiness." He said, "Surely I know what you know not." The messenger teaches us that the amount of time that they were to rule is 6,000 years. And after that time, one greater would come and overpower that wicked rulership by making manifest the tricks and lies with a new nation of truth, and actually destroying all rebellion, even the rebellion that was before this people was made.
Apparently, white nationalists are flocking to genetic tests, but some don't like what they find because often the tests reveal African ancestry.
A study at the University of Copenhagen looked at the DNA of blue-eyed individuals and found that 99.9% of them had a mutation in their OCA2 gene that rendered it useless. This led scientists to believe that all blue-eyed people may have come from one single common mutant European ancestor.
The absence of MC1R diversity in African populations indicates that, in that part of the world, there is strong negative selection against any alleles that would alter dark skin. And how long has this allele been fixed in African populations? Other genetic studies have calculated that it has been as much as 1.2 million years. Since our species evolved in equatorial Africa, it's reasonable to conclude that by that time, all humans were dark-skinned.
In today's program, we are focusing on the earliest days of Chinese civilization in the Yangtze River area. 6,000 years ago, on and around the Jianghan Plain bordering the Yangtze River.
In the total time of his grafting out of black, white, 600 years. And this figure tallies with the Bible's teaching of a man being created in 6 days. This days here you have means 100 years each, 600 years. And this also tallies with the creation of the universe. That's six. The whole entire universe, according to the Quran, was also created in 6 periods of time. And so Mr. Yakub, the mighty scientist of that time, he produced his man on 6, because it did tally with the creation of the universe. They would be masters, gods, to rule the earth and the people, everything of life, for 6,000 years. And at the end of 6,000 years, the Aboriginal people will have at that time produced another one, mightier than Yakub in wisdom and knowledge, And he would be equal with that one that created the heavens and the earth. And he would have the power and the infinitive wisdom to make his word be as the first one. This is the man we have before us today, to whom praise is due. Master Farad Muhammad is that man.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for respecting these teachings. And thank you for tuning into another edition of NOI Beliefs 101.